3 weeks ago I made this English bitter, and the recipe says after 18 days check the specific gravity, but unfortunately I only get to do this at weekends, so it's been a little bit longer, 21 days. But I'm going to take the lid off and we're going to take a look at the specific gravity. We're looking to see that it's 1015 or lower, which will indicate that we're ready to keg. I sanitized the hydrometer with isopropyl alcohol. And it looks like the reading is about 1010. So it's definitely less than 1015. This beer is ready to keg or bottle. I'm going to be kegging it. So because I am kegging, I have 3 ounces of corn sugar dissolved and boiled in a minimal amount of water, which I'm going to add to the keg, and that is going to be the fuel that the yeast is going to use. And I have an auto siphon here, which hopefully is on, because I had the barrel on a slant, is going to be on the side where there is less yeast, and I'm going to pump the auto siphon to begin the process of siphoning the beer into the keg. One of the weak points of the auto siphon is this junction here, where if you don't close this properly, you will introduce oxygen. Now, as I mentioned, if you're using corn sugar and using the yeast to produce the CO2, additional oxygen at this point may be not so bad, but if you're forced carbonating with a CO2 cylinder, you definitely don't want oxygen coming in at this point. I've wrapped this with tape and then made sure that there's no gap for oxygen to be introduced here, but this can be a weak point. As we start to get close to the bottom of the fermentation vessel, I'm going to tilt it very slightly to make sure that no oxygen is introduced. But I'm also keeping an eye on the keg, which is filling rapidly, to make sure that I don't overflow anything. It looks like I estimated it about right. The beer is pretty much done in the fermentation vessel, and I'm going to stop it there. The keg, as you hopefully can see, is within about 2 inches of the top, and we need a little bit of headspace, so at that point we are done. With the beer and the corn sugar solution in the keg, it's time to put the lid on and set it aside at room temperature for a week to 10 days and let the yeast carbonate the beer. Then the keg is moved into the kegerator to chill and hopefully start to clear before tasting. Now let's review this brew and wrap up with a taste test. Here's the description of the kit, taken from the Williams Brewing website. Some key points jumped out at me, shown here in red, because I hadn't seen this information before. Blended malt extract is still a little vague. English Golding hops, however, does give a clue to the markings on the packet. East Kent Goldings would be EKG though. The starting gravity of 1044 seems about right if the initial brewing volume is 5 gallons. But I used 5.5 gallons to allow for some losses during fermentation and kegging. Here you can see the recipe and a decoder ring for the markings on the hop packet, although I'm still not sure what the C is for. If you know, please leave a comment below. From brew day to tasting was a little over 2 months, which is longer than usual for me. This was due to some other things going on in life and the fact that the initial carbonation didn't work. I suspect the seal around the keg lid wasn't set properly and there was a small leak. Forced carbonation by attaching a CO2 bottle and applying excess pressure added a few more days. Before I spotted the 1044 original gravity number on the website, I used a formula that I found on the web for calculating the original gravity based on the type of extract and the volume of liquid. For liquid malt extract, it's 36 gravity points per pound of extract per gallon. My calculated number of 1043 is pretty close to their 1044. Interestingly, I measured both original gravity and final gravity to be about 5 points less than their numbers, which gives an ABV of 3.9% in either case. So what would I do different if I was doing this again? Brew day itself was pretty smooth, I wouldn't change much there. The failure of the carbonation by the corn sugar was probably down to that leak I was talking about. So I think a short burst of CO2 from the bottle would be enough to set the seal and stop any further leaks, or at least make sure you didn't have any leaks. Also, prior to putting the keg in the cooler to chill, it would be worth checking that it had pressurized properly and fixing it before if necessary. Yeah, lights, camera, action. So, here we have Williams English Bitter, which is finely carbonated.
Very exciting.
And I'm getting the beauty to help me do a taste test and try it out.
Oh.
But before we taste it, let's have a quick look at the colour. Looks pretty good. It's kind of, I would say that was light amber.
I would say so.
The head was a little bit more than that when we started, but it has subsided a bit while I was getting the camera sorted out. What do you think? Got a malty smell.
Yes, it does.
And have a taste and see what you make of
I
that.
smell grapefruit.
That's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. What do you
It's not bad. It's very good. Actually, it's very good.
In terms of notes, what are you getting?
I don't get the amyl acetate.
No isoamyl acetate. No banana. Okay.
No banana.
You sure? No, not at all, huh?
Am I supposed to? Okay then.
No, it's not meant to have
Tricking
that
me.
in
You're
there.
trying to trick me.
The carbonation is about right for an English bitter. They're on the less carbonated side. And
Did you make it because it's like you, English and bitter?
I made it because it was English. Yes, I did.
And bitter.
And no, I am not bitter. I am not bitter. Not with you. Not with you in my life. No.
Oh, it's very good.
So this is a keeper.
Yeah.
I would recommend
I would say
this.
so.
It's taken a little while to get there, as I mentioned. There were some other things going on, and the first time it didn't carbonate. But we seem to be lacking.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So why didn't it carbonate? What did you do to change it? Because it is carbonated now.
Well, I did mention that earlier in the video, but I think the carbonation didn't work because there might have been a leak around the gasket in the keg. So I force carbonated it by putting it up to 30 psi, and that was a. I don't have any tables for that. There are tables you can use to calculate what pressure and how long, as we saw the other night at that quaff meeting.
Yes, we did.
Where we had a presentation on forced carbonation, as it
It was
turned
actually
out.
very interesting. You said it would be boring, but I thought it was riveting.
I don't have those tables, so it was a bit of a guess. Put the pressure up, left it for a few days, took the pressure off, tried it.
So based on what we found in that lecture, you did what he talked about, or you had already started doing it?
I'd started doing it before we went, so I just cranked it up to 30 psi for about 3 or 4 days and tried it. Yeah. Now, we seem to be lacking something, though, and I think you've sorted that out.
I have.
What have you sorted out?
Appetizers, because you should always have food when you are drinking alcohol.
Arguably, you should always have beer when you're eating, but...
I made these really lovely appetizers, figs from our fig tree, yes.
Okay.
Rosemary from our
bush.
rosemary bush, ham
From the local store?
the grocery store, yes,
Okay.
yes. The goat's cheese from our goat,
Yes.
yes, our goat, and a cracker.
All right.
So, give that a try, shall you?
I will.
Prosciutto ham
And
with a fig wrapped with goat's cheese on a rosemary raisin cracker.
And I'll add a picture at the end so you can see what it looked like with only 2 missing.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Very good.
Very nice. Don't talk with your mouth full.
Okay.
Whoa. How does it match with this? It's a nice, hearty autumn snack.
I like that
I almost
beer.
choked.
I do like that beer. That's good.